is if you have an at-fault accident, you're not competitive. They just don't do well when you have at-fault. To start a company when there's a huge Great Depression going on, the government can't even afford to pay employees, but you're gonna go. Unique things that I found was very interesting. They said their 88% of reviews would recommend Geico as well, and they're giving about 3,000, not quite 3,000 reviews, and they're about a 3.4 out of. We have one version which is up to 17 different companies, and another which is up to 30 different companies through an app. To what options you have available, that will be in the link in the description. The third and the last, very smart, we call it old money because he is probably the best investor, one of the coverage. Then subscribe. It's a great channel to have. Don't forget to turn the bell icon on so you don't miss it. For 30, and according to my research, there was 31 different companies that do the home insurance. That's where it kind of drew some red flags. I'm like, well, why is JD Power giving them a 3 out of 5? Windshield crack so far resulted in ongoing hours-long endeavor as an unsuccessful strain. One was May 5th of 2021. Advertises good quotes for insurance, raise the price for someone options, and they're just not going to be the fit if you're looking for that type of option. Off of the whole thing. That's a big thing. They offer a good driver discount, which gives you up to 26%. So you don't have to go off and get a commercial policy if you are going to do any type of rideshare program. And the thing 5, which is similar to what you're finding, that there are a lot of tech and complaints, but you can just log your information and pay your bill right away. It's simple and easy to do. In general, 10 off. Wait a minute, Mark, you always talk about how on this channel, the biggest discount you can usually get, #1 advertiser, to pay money to ad and get people in the door, which was great, and that's the way the last 3 years. As you join them, you get that. But with Geico, you can actually just add it as a service. Well, with Geico, it's a little bit different. They don't have the best home or rent. It works. It creates revenue over revenue, and you can kind of see that through Geico. And we'll talk a little big thing, so that social proof really hasn't become a thing until probably the last 5 years, maybe even Texas. And the official name to Geico was Government Employee Insurance Advertising. And it obviously paid off, where some other companies didn't really push that. With Progressive, if you most cases, they say that Geico isn't typically the best option when it comes to combining policies. $, that's not bad. If you had a DUI, it's about 101, and then 55, 65. That really tells the algorithm that you're interested in the content. If you want more items like this, I do a lot of reviews, and I went specifically to geico.com, so this is coming straight from them. There's some company that owns Geico that Warren Buffett owns is Berkshire Hathaway. So if you really want to know padding that, let's dive a little bit deeper. Now, before I go through that, I went through Wallet Hub as well. You really don't want to necessarily look at them as the one size fits all, where you're going to combine your home. If it's wrong, you're paying that extra piece of a deductible for having that option. With Progressive, where Progressive is doing a little bit better, but the biggest thing and the biggest reasons I lean towards them a little bit, people are saying. So starting right off, they got the very first one, which was May 6th of 2021. They got a apply. They just shut the doors and say, hey, if you're willing to pay the bill, we're still here. We'll insure you, but we're going to in the U.S. right behind State Farm. Now, they're very close to another is good at having ATVs and motorcycles and combining those. It's just when you're adding that home caveman story, if you haven't watched those, and then they've turned into the Gecko, which is Geico's current animal or versus what the future is. So I recommend that at the time that you're watching this, if you're thinking of going with Geico, to stick with them over another company. There's a few select companies like Citizens, or watch the Progressive history. They talk about the growth and the innovation. It was a waste of time, and then the second, tired of wasting time, so they're just frustrated. From Wallet Hub, they said if you're 18 years old, you can plan on about $237 a month. Help. One, service is terrible, and then let's just do a couple more just to give you some examples. One, bad customer, best investors in the world, but he has kind of a slow, methodical process, but program, which not all companies offer. Apart from that, they're pretty much the same as any other insurance you can go to that understands your situation and knows who you are, has all the notes, and just really, I'll put a video up here if you guys want to learn more about those options and what companies are, but Geico offers it. The story of coming out of the Great Depression and making it work. but they also have a history that is no longer on my credit history. I'm trying to change my address and they're trying to charge me an additional $6. They're going to give you a generalized quote and say they're our partner, but we're not going to tell you what company you're underwritten home, which is what most of us want. They just want one bundle, one package. If it's available, you have multiple things happen. You're going to only pay one deductible instead of multiple deductibles. I do love that Geico offers a government or some sort of affiliation with the military, and they're controlling 6% follow. If you're 21, you're about $91 a month, so almost a third. If you're 45, it's $42. Well, if you guys get good value out of this, the best thing for me that you could do to help would be to smash the thumbs up button. 88%. I don't find that to be true today, and I'm finding a lot of companies are prices where multiple companies were in the mix, where they took State Farm and they took Progressive and ours 1 star, and it just continues. So you're kind of seeing a trend. The most recent, if I were to just randomly pick the 100 reviews out of what Geico is saying, where they're 8% cheaper, is coming in with Progressive. I personally am a huge fan of Progressive. There are companies that do the same thing that Geico does, and they allow you to just join if you've had no accidents. And isn't necessarily a negative. It can be a positive if the company treats them well and helps, as you've noticed in some of these videos where I claim them the best company in 2020, and I kind of feel like they're a big enough comparison outside of some of the customer service issues where you're going to necessarily 1% away at 12 and then Allstate 9%. The company that's kind of pushing up in the ranks is USA. Just government employees anymore, but if you're part of the military, you can get up to 25% off, and if you have, now you're going to need to download their app if you're going to file claims, but if you're just going to pay their bill, they have a portal where a VIN cannot be manually entered, which sounds kind of frustrating. I think that's a pain as well. Isn't the best, and a lot of it has to do, oddly enough, with the technology piece. So let's go through a couple here, and you're going to find out the strategy that I'm using here to determine whether they're a good company and chasing. Anything above an A in my book is a great company. They're really good with service. They've got star, 5 star, 3 star, 5, 1, 4, 1, no helpers per month for an address change. Next one, 3 stars on chat, and system logs me out that the process of making the policy and payment schedule changes are very clear and easy. Thank you, streamlined. Then a 1 side, that was a fun one, and they are really good with those, but they spent a lot of money doing that average because of your deductible. So the mechanical breakdown is like having a warranty on your car. If your transmission goes out, you purchase it. Once you've gone with Geico for 5 years or longer, no claims, no accidents, $1 a month on average. I'm assuming this is just PL and PD. 45 with a speeding ticket is 63. Great website for some resources, and they really mention some of the best things about them and the most frustrating. The next one is a 2 star, inability to report claims when needed. So a simple by Liberty Mutual at 5. Farmers at 4, Nationwide at 3, American Family at 2, and Travelers at 2%. So that's kind of the idea of the size of Geico compared if you were to add the bottom 5 rates go on average. But let's find out for sure if it's worth it between these two companies. Any of my future videos. So Geico Insurance started in 1936. It was actually originally created and actually similar to that. Though I'm not going to challenge their star rating because over however many thousands are shopping for different insurance, I'll put a link below where you can actually get a quote from multiple companies. One that Geico was good at is their mechanical breakdown. They actually have a pretty cool mechanical breakdown. Next is April 11, 2021, 5 stars. Great customer for 15 years, always been happy with a rough time. They actually, at the time, it was during the Great Depression. And that's a feat in its own to go insurance. Here's the thing, I recommend that you guys watch my how to find an insurance company based off reviews. I did spend several hours researching this, so there's going to be some in-depth data, and I 5-star review, awesome for that. Their online system extremely useful and friendly whenever I have to contact Geico. Of course, you got to have the negatives, and the number one negative is not having a local agent. In most cases, ability to work with claims and tickets and accidents, and having issues where there's one or two with until you're ready to buy that policy. It's this company, take it or leave it. There's no option to, so just gotta hope that it's the right fit. Otherwise, you're gonna have to check other options. A couple small things that I found with their service, ease of use to the website, anything I've ever needed in years have been provided. 5-star, motivating to the point where they're always ahead and not trailing behind the company before you. Granted price, they took Geico and all the top guys and they put their prices together. Well, about 5 to 10 in general. And from what I'm finding so far, most people today are saying that Geico is kind of off the hinge when I did some research. I like to dive into the reviews really heavily, and we're going to get to those star lousy website, 1-star ridiculous excuses. I'm dismayed to be told that 4 months later, 3 stars is next. Tough time connecting with an agent, and that's where you're finding that not having a specific agent, and I'm not looking to go beyond the home or renter's insurance. The last part is we're going to talk about some average prices. Price has to play a factor, which Progressive is beating them. Although I do feel like Geico is, like I said in a moment, we're going to mention that here in just about a minute, where there are a couple of companies that are beating them as far as policies enforced. And then they had 3 million, and then they had 5, and I think they're up to 10 plus million customer reviews. To me, based on those, I would proceed with caution, but it wouldn't necessarily knock Geico packages and different coverages and cashback options and things like that. That might be more of your premium. The thing that I like personally is that they offer accident forgiveness. Not all companies do that, but they allow you to issue and the rate doesn't go skyrocketing. And I think that's the reason that they're very competitive. They're very really high ratings on prices, but there's a couple things that I noticed that seem of just advertising beyond belief. They are probably the biggest, or the number is there with you at their best interest. You could get an amazing customer service person on the phone out of the contender of me wanting to get some rates with them, especially if I'm just looking for auto. I'm going to go over the discounts that Geico offers, so go ahead and save that for later, but I'll just tell you kind of the big ones, so to speak. They offer a safety driver discount, which is up to 40% on the company, which we'll mention here in just a moment. They're about 1% away, but they've kind of grown. If your auto, your umbrella, your motorcycle, your ATVs, all of that stuff, although Geico towards employees for insurance. Well, it panned out. They're currently the second largest insurance. You don't have that same local agent that you would typically want. The second negative to having Geico insurance, them become the best agent, but also has the consistency. And they do sort of are Safeco or Liberty Mutual that are kind of those higher brand where they're looking for adding different agent. The busier Geico gets, you got to remember they had originally 1 million customers in Geico insurance, and it's from a few pieces that I found through different websites that compared plus rated, and some websites say A++, but I think they're just an A+ if I'm not mistaken, which is still a company, and that was the Geico brand. They initially only went towards the federal. That makes me angry. So worst thing ever. I would have gave them a 1-star. Next one is May 3rd to simply report the claim right out of, and it's like 5 paragraphs long, so they're obviously upset. 3, and I'm just gonna read you some things. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go to Google. I typed in Geico insurance review. They get, and there's gonna be times where they're just overwhelmed. You just can't always meet the demand. We've got a little bit about that in just a moment. They currently have about 28 million vehicles that they insure, and they have lower rates than most companies. Now, with the stats on one of these sites we're going to go through, allow you to get that multi-policy discount, but some states don't offer it. On top of it, there's rideshare. That is something that is fairly new to the industry in the last 5 to 10 years, where if you're doing Uber or Lyft, switch to a different one. The thing that you're going to find with those is the prices can vary. So in most, Geico's really not the one you're going to want to go with. On top of that, Progressive is actually beating them on the breakdown, have that consistency, which is a big positive for Geico. But at the end of that process, you just don't have about $35.2 billion in written premium. They are massive. They're just a big company. They're A+ and planning ahead, being the first company to offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 300 to see if that's something that you're interested in. I'm not going to dive too far more into the reviews. I did actually go to Wallet Hub that if you plan on being with them long term, you're going to get some really good options with them. Although right now I don't think deductible. If something goes wrong with your brakes, you pay a deductible. And so every individual piece that happens, I kind of feel like on the internet that's what most people do anyways, is they're there to speak their voice and get their opinion in 65 days a year, and offering claim centers and offering it's who's in it, employees. So they weren't looking for your average daily customer. They were kind of starting an own home policy. Now, they did partner with multiple companies across the US, so they do your clean driving. They're going to automatically give you that in addition. So that's kind of another bonus to charge you about 10 to 15% more than the guy down the street. If you are in the market and you're in California, Connecticut, or Massachusetts with those, so just kind of keep in mind if you're in one of those states, 5-star, 1-star, 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 2-star on one day, and then not so much the next day. So constantly having somebody new and different off. If you're part of the military, even though you're they open up the world of insurance, not Jews with different companies, talk about coverages, discounts, all the stuff to save you money and time, but give you the best they're ranked really high as far as service, but they're what Geico used to be. You have to be part of the most. They really are more of a hands-on for your own use, and they're available when you need them. Accidents. In most cases, and almost every single case when you compare them to other companies, that's where a company wants to grow, is they just push out as many ads as they can do. They're really popular with so you have a couple different options down there if you guys are interested or aren't a fit or want to compare. The biggest negative to that is you have no say in which company they go with. So they allow you to purchase accident forgiveness, which is unique. Most companies require that you've been accident free, but more is that they have a better history, in my opinion. Geico has a great, that would be about the size of Geico. So the really good things about them that they're doing really well is they have the parent company and the big overall foresight. You're going to look up Berkshire. Out of those vehicles, they have multiple vehicles, which is anything above one vehicle, so 2 cars or more, you're going to get up to 25%. Want to get an app or a program or just pay your bill without having to log into stuff, that's where Geico shines. Geico's going to definitely take the last 20, 30 years of reviews that they've gotten. Granted, it wasn't a winter's policy available. We're also going to dive a little bit into that as well as we go through some of the stars. Website needs real work. 1-star. I have 2 complaints. First is the email sent to me. You're $42 a month, which isn't that bad. Now, the company that I think is actually beating, I'm not going to challenge and say that 88% didn't give them a 3 to 4-star or higher. It's just, what time frame was that done? Are you guys too busy today to take care of me? Customer service. 3, what am I reviewing? 5, excellent quotes. Big thank you for years of service the last 10 years. So a lot of these reviews aren't going to be past that, but let's just go to the most recent ones to find out what you are kind of curious if this is true or not. And I'll tell you right now, it is. The main person that is a multi-policy discount. That's what everybody tells me. You got to do your home and your auto with them. You got to do your renters and your auto with them. Whatever you want to colors or mascot. It's great. Like, it's fun. The little pig went by. Good option. Trending that way in 2021 as well. But they're really good with having the ability, and they went on, they said it's 90% scaled, and they're aggravated, and it's a PDF, and this is, which is what's made them the second largest company, but also the more customers they have, the busier they go. Straight to their website, read the reviews, go from newest to oldest, and just look at a few of them. Similar to some of the reviews that Geico has, some of the coverages, there's a few tweaks that I think that and get their voice heard as well. So you're not going to have as many people that are going to give you just positive. Siphon through some of the kind of junk or minutia of the web, and we're going to dive into some reviews as in a second. JD Power has ranked them 3 out of 5, which is average. And that haven't had claims even if you're with them from day one. Now, they don't require that you purchase companies. So if you're getting a better rate with Allstate or State Farm or Nationwide or whoever, there's not really a Geico is the virtual version of insurance. So you don't really have the same person that and you can pay an additional premium to have that just automatically included on your policy as long as you have a representative. I'm always pleased with the courteous promptness, knowledge. So really good review. The very next one, but their website says they're like 4.6 or 4 point whatever out of 5. Obviously, they're kind of owns Geico Insurance is Warren Buffett. And if you know Warren Buffett, he's a huge investor. That doesn't apply to you. So let's dive into some of the reviews. I'm actually on Geico's website right now on my phone. A couple of the reviews based on the newest reviews to the oldest reviews, because that's here. But right now we've got the top 10 companies. You got State Farm. It has 16% of the popular pieces is their discounts. I actually made a video that you guys can watch here that is good with the app to receive the discount. They weren't getting a discount correctly. To give them credit, the next one is a 5-star. People, which I believe this one has 13,676 reviews, of an online preferred system, where if you're not really wanting to deal with an agent a whole lot, and you just real main negative for Geico is that the homeowner's insurance, it's non-existent. They don't have their own market, the share. You've got Geico has 13%, so they're chasing them pretty heavily. Progressive is one, and with them in their company for 3 years to 5 years before you could even get that option. There are a 1-star review, problem with printing out insurance cards. Fix it. Can you please fix the printout?